Mapak mo na dyan sa kahoy.
For more than 7 decades, fortune hunters from all over the world have been searching for this coveted trove, worth $100 billion.
This treasure trove was allegedly several boxes, several millions of not pesos, but dollars worth of treasures that were looted from not only in the Philippines but several Southeast Asian countries.
But why is the treasure still missing? Second World War, a pivotal battle that changed the course of history. In the Philippines, a leader of the Japanese Imperial Army was about to become an infamous legend. His name, General Tomoyuki Yamashita.
Dito siya naabutan ngayon ng liberation. He knew that the Philippine Islands were no longer defensible from the enemy forces. So some of his commanding officers remained behind and to their vow to Japanese honor, would eventually fight to the last, the fabled last man in the Battle of Manila, and would also massacre a lot of civilians. The massacre of civilians during the Battle of Manila would eventually become one of the charges against Yamashita for war crimes.
As punishment for his war crimes, Yamashita was hanged, taking a huge secret to his grave.
According to the legend, the treasure was evacuated by the Japanese Imperial Army when General Yamashita moved to his headquarters to northern Luzon. The treasure was allegedly stored in ammunition boxes, and buried in several caves. Rumors eventually happened with some people who saw the Japanese evacuating from the city and going to the mountains.
The rumors lived on even after the war. 40 years later, American Charles McDougall decided to search for the hidden treasure.
I'm convinced that the Japanese did bury some gold. It's a historical fact that they pillaged each country of its natural resources. What is not a well-known fact is that they also pillaged the banks, the temples, the museums, and so on, and systematically crated it and then shipped it out.
In 1898,
but a decade before McDougall's arrival in Manila, another American, Robert Curtis, was tasked by President Marcos and former Armed Forces Chief Fabian Ver with searching for Yamashita's gold.
What was convincing about his argument?
His sincerity.
Did he show you any proof that there was such a treasure?
At one point at the summer palace at Mariveles, he had General Ver take me downstairs and showed me a room full of gold bars. There was also a Buddha in his office with the head unscrewed, and inside was a hollow cavity which he said was full of stones. General Ver mentioned it came from underneath a flagpole at Camp Aguinaldo.
Curtis's team had 11 members.
Benito Mutok also confirmed that there was one member who possessed the original Japanese maps, Leopoldo Giga.
When the Japanese were retreating, he allegedly gave Paul an attaché case of maps and told him to keep it if after 25 years he was not back, Paul could open the map and the contents would be his.
In March 1975, Curtis, together with his companion Bob McAllister, entered into an agreement with Marcos. Curtis's group would dig in 2 other sites, Teresa in Marikina and the heavy cruiser Nachi, which had sunk off Manila Bay. It was in the Teresa operations that trouble started.
It took us almost 3 months of excavation to get down to the tunnel. We were told to go back to the hotel. We were never allowed to return to the site.
By whom?
By General Bear and by Marcos, I presume.
That incident would be followed by another one. This time, Curtis and his companion were brought to a graveyard.
I told them that the maps no longer existed, that I had destroyed them. I also told them that I had sent copies of the maps out of the country. The latter was true. They searched my room thoroughly, but they didn't find the maps. That night, Mac and I truly destroyed them.
Fearing retaliation from President Marcos, Curtis returned to the United States. But his experience made McDougall invite him into his team. President Cory Aquino granted them special permission to dig in the hallowed grounds of Fort Santiago. In exchange, McDougall was to give the Philippine government a portion of the treasure to pay off foreign debt. McDougall and Curtis were helped by Pedro, a prisoner of war during the Battle of Manila. Pedro claimed he took part in transporting the alleged precious cargo.
Kung ano yung kargo niya, basta mabigat. 4 na tao nagbubuhat niyan. Pero maliit na kahon. 4 na tao nagbubuhat.
Pero dyan ho mismo sa fort?
Fort Santiago, mismo. Kami siguro mga 2 meters away kung doon sa hukay. Pero hindi ka mga kalapin. Iba nagtatrabaho ron.
Within a few days, the treasure hunters discovered secret chambers in Intramuros. Former National Security Advisor Emmanuel Soriano audited the findings. He says markings on the chamber walls show the initials of Japanese officers who took part in burying the treasure.
I stands for Ishigawa, H stands for Hanaguchi, S stands for Sugilitsu.
Okay, let's go.
And M, you go there, you see a letter M.
Yes.
On
this wall here.
That stands for Morita. He was the one who placed all the symbols that you see here, which we hope to see more often.
But the team never saw anything beyond that. Rumors of a buried billion-dollar treasure never die, perhaps because General Yamashita is not a fictional character, and they did discover precious items, pieces, in fact, more priceless than Yamashita's gold. But sadly,
the scary thing about with regards to cultural impact is that you cannot imagine how much cultural treasures were lost because they have gone unreported. One of the scary things with regards to the gold that was found in Surigao was the fact that you do not know how much of the gold was actually found, and here's the painful thing: how much of it was melted already.
To Professor Torres, Yamashita's retreat into the jungle to bury treasure is completely illogical.
Why take out these treasures from the Southeast Asian countries where they were, when you can just store them there? Why suddenly evacuate everything across the ocean to the Philippines? And there was also a danger of the ships being bombed, by American planes.
But it isn't easy to discount rumors. Even before Robert Curtis excavated in Rizal, Robert Rojas was digging in a secret tunnel in Baguio, using a map from a Japanese soldier. Rojas made his discovery public. A few days later, Marcos's men stole it from him at gunpoint.
It was Marcos who started this, the legend that he discovered the Yamashita treasure. Probably it was an attempt on his part to question the wealth that he was already gathering that time.
While Marcos was in exile in Hawaii, Rojas sued the ousted president for stealing the Golden Buddha. The Supreme Court of Hawaii favored him and ordered Marcos to return the statue. But that spawned a huge problem.
So I found out that the Golden Buddha that was returned was basically a statue that was painted gold.
Many believe that Marcos melted the gold and minted them into bars, but Marcos repeatedly denied this.
after the revolution, a week Marcos showed businessman Enrique Zobel deposit certificates for gold stored in various banks abroad.
I saw the actual certificates of gold bullion deposits, and they were all over the world.
So is the Yamashita loot real or just fool's gold? The answer might vary depending on who you ask. But the legend is sure to stay alive with people's enduring fascination for lost treasure and greed for quick fortune.